us out with this, but look at these winds. I mean, this is just to show you how strong those winds are going to be when they come in. This is tossing that camera around like a toy, and we will continue to see that as these storms even push into Metro Nashville here within the next 15 to 20 minutes. So it's really one of those evenings you need to stay weather aware. You could stay right here with WSMV4. We're going to keep you updated through the rest of the evening with this severe coverage. Lisa?
All right, so as we check out what we're seeing with our first alert weather day, just a recap of what we're expecting. Multiple rounds of strong storms. You've seen what's going on right now. We're going to go back to that and show you that again in just a moment. We are looking at this happening through tonight. Big concern that we have with this is going to be flooding downpours. And I know for many of you, because of recent past floods, it certainly has you on high alert anytime you hear that word flooding. Just please keep in mind, if you're out on the roads, no trip, no destination is of more concern that you might want to stop and turn around and go a different direction if you see water standing over the roads. Also, a big concern we have tonight is going to be from damaging winds. We've already had numerous reports of winds going up, and with this line coming through Nashville, I expect we could see easy 50 to 60 mile per hour winds that will cause some tree damage, so keep that in mind. This is that severe threat we've got. It was elevated today to a 3 on our 1 to 5 scale, so that's why we're a little more heightened alert this afternoon than where we were yesterday at this time, because the risk is definitely a bit better for us for tonight. So it's not a be scared or anything like that. We just want you to be prepared and know that these storms are coming across. There is a severe thunderstorm watch that remains in effect. That's until 8 o'clock tonight. More counties have been included in this from what we were a little bit earlier if you were tuned in watching a bit earlier. And then, of course, there remains that flood watch that is in effect that goes all the way through Wednesday morning, because this is not just one round. This is not just the round that's coming through now. This is the next one that's going to be coming through as well. So when all this is said and done, we are talking about possibly 5 inches of rain coming into the mid-state. We're going back to our first alert live radar. This is quite the line. And I do want to point out to you, anytime we see a line like this and we see it making that bow, we know that that leading edge is indicating some really, really strong winds that are moving across. So that's why we're certainly paying attention with this line tonight. And we've got a lot of lightning on here, as you can see it there. Crews might want to remove that lightning so we can get a better look at what's going on along this line. We've got greens, we got reds indicating the winds that we're picking up. Look at this. The radar is estimating 50 to near 60 mile per hour winds with this storm as it's moving through. Now, that's the kind of damage that can bring down limbs, that can certainly blow anything you've got in the yard around, down the street, including the kids' play equipment, all that stuff. If you're out ahead of this storm, probably a good idea to go on and secure those trash cans or anything that's out in the yard that could blow away. Just keep in mind, though, that we are going to see this storm producing those winds. So if you are in the middle of this or about to be, please stay in till it passes you by. So here's that line right through here. Numerous warnings out ahead of it. We mentioned the latest warning for Cheatham, also Dixon, Humphreys, Robertson County, and then, of course, Davidson County included in that latest warning as well. And this storm is inching on towards the east right now. Let's do a little closer survey, maybe go up and down this line so we can see really a little closer of where that's headed. We've got folks there in Russellville, continuing over to Franklin, all the way down to Springfield. And crews, a good idea, pop that damage report on there, because this is going to show you that we have already had numerous reports of wind issues with this storm. So it has had a history already from Hopkinsville to Oak Grove of producing some wind problems. And this is one example of that, with the winds coming through there estimated at 70 miles per hour. That's a really high wind. As you know, tornadoes, we normally have a weak tornado around 80, 90 miles an hour. So, you know, these kind of straight line winds can produce as much damage in many instances than you can get with a weak tornado. So a lot of that is what we're seeing with the storms tonight, the wind issue. Now we scoot on down that line. You can see it here around Springfield down to Dixon. Let's zoom in and we'll do a storm track for you so we can give you some timing on when this is going to be moving into the Nashville area. You can see some of our communities here, Hendersonville, Madison, over to Inglewood and Nashville. This storm moving pretty quickly. It's been moving around 45 to 50 miles an hour towards the east. And we are talking about folks that are going to be in the following communities. We can go back full so we can read these cities for folks. That's going to be headed on over to Pegram right around 3:36. You can see the East Robertson High School at 3:35, Whites Creek High School at 3:36, Jordonia right around 3:37. If you're in Bon Aqua, heads up to you right around 3:38. Davidson Academy, I should say, 3:39 is the estimated arrival time for you. Continuing on over to Millersville as all this moves to the east. And that was just in that window that Cruz was showing you right there. And then you can see folks there in Dixon. You are in the middle of it right now. And that line goes all the way down to right there along the Tennessee River and west of the Tennessee River. So here in Waverly, heavy rain, a lot of lightning coming down. Scoot on down to folks here in Linden. You are very close to getting some of that heavier rain there as well. And over into Henderson County and Lexington, the rain continues to come down there as well as all this moves towards the east. But so many communities under the severe thunderstorm warning. As you can see it right here, it does include Davidson County now, all the way down to Murray County and back down to northern Hardin County. All these communities are under a severe thunderstorm warning at this point. And that is also for, hey, folks up here in Sumner County included in that as well. Many of you until around 4:15 with this latest warning that was issued. So just stay inside. The best thing you can do to these storms pass you by. If you've got an errand, if you've got to go pick up the kids, we get that. But just keep in mind that the winds are going to be very, very high with this storm coming through. So just, make your trips certainly with that in mind, that it's not the best time to be out on the road. Let's toss it on over to Cruz.
Yes, well, these storms continue to barrel through at this time, Lisa. So we're talking an eastward movement at about 50 miles per hour. So the storms alone are already capable of producing some damaging winds. You factor in that forward motion, and it certainly makes the storms, even stronger as far as that wind potential that we could see with the radar. So first alert live radar, I will say the strongest part of the storm is actually going to be impacting an area like Davidson County pretty soon. So if I take off some of the lightning here just to give us a clearer picture, notice how we have this part of the line near Springfield and Greenbrier approaching Hendersonville. This part of the line actually has sort of a bow shape, and anytime that we get that bowing segment in a line of storms, that really lets us know the winds are going to be the strongest in that part of the storm. So I would not be surprised if we see some wind damage in these areas. Keep in mind that severe thunderstorm warning that you are under is for 70-mile-per-hour winds, and as Lisa was just saying, that can do similar damage to something like a weak tornado. It's certainly strong enough to bring down trees. It could, disrupt power lines and things of that sort. So it's not something that you want to take lightly for this evening. We are going to continue to see this complex of storms pressing off to the east and for some areas to the south as well. So if you're back in West Middle Tennessee, that's going to be more of a southern movement for you. So I'd say from Jackson over to Linden and maybe an area like Williamson County, those storms are pressing ever so slightly off to the south and east. These areas near Nashville, so Cheatham and western Davidson County off to the east, those storms are tracking in that direction, so east at 50 miles per hour. So the forward motion is very quick with these storms. We should see them tracking through within the next few hours, but we can't stress enough. We really need you, to take this seriously for the next several hours while we have these severe thunderstorm warnings in effect, and even that watch that goes until 8 p.m. These storms are certainly capable of producing damage. So Lisa was just telling you earlier about really how, these storms have already caused damage in some spots. We've had some of those storm reports a little farther to the north, and I'll throw those on again for you just so you can see where we have had those, and it's obviously in the areas that have already seen these storms. So if you look back to the north and west of an area like Nashville, all of these W's that you see up here, that is all indications of wind damage. So wind damage reports. Of course, these have to be verified. The National Weather Service, they'll take their time, sorting through these and, comparing that to what the radar looked like at the time. But just to give you an idea here, looks like back here near Clarksville and Oak Grove, we did have a wind of 56 miles per hour in those areas. Some of the other wind gusts reports have been closer to 70 miles per hour. So just there near Clarksville, we had some of those thunderstorm wind damage gusts reported. So this is not to be taken lightly. As I mentioned, a little earlier, when we were in some of our shows, it's been very hot, very humid. That heat and humidity is really something for these storms to latch onto. It allows them to keep their strength as they continue to move along. So that's something we're going to be dealing with for the rest of this evening. Lisa?
All right, if you're just getting home, maybe picking up the kids this afternoon, I know it's a lot when you take a look and see the radar like that. Wow, what is going on? Well, we are under a first alert weather day for you, and we're going to extend this all the way through actually tomorrow morning, and here's why. We've got the possible severe storms through tonight, but then not only tonight, but tomorrow we have the potential for a little bit of flooding with these storms. So we need you to stay weather ready, having two sources, two ways to get those warnings that may be issued for you. So the intent is not to scare you, just so you'll be prepared. And one thing that you can use is going to be our First Alert app. I mean, it is so great. We all use it because we think it's a great tool. So make sure you've got that. And also our WSMV app is fantastic as well, our news app. That's a good way also to be able to get those advisories shipped right to your phone and have another backup too. I mean, we all know sometimes things happen with cell phones. Make sure that you have got with you a NOAA weather radio, because we're going to see some of these storms, especially this raining event late tonight. Here is what we've got going on through this evening. Our severe threat, it was elevated to a 3 just today, just this morning. So elevated to a 3 on that 1 to 5 scale. So that's quite a jump. Now, we do not really think this is going to be a big tornado event. We did have a few warnings in Kentucky out a little bit earlier this afternoon. We could see a little bit of hail, but both of those are on the lower end. What we're most concerned about is going to be high winds, and that's what we've seen already. These 50, 60, 70 mile per hour winds out there that can knock down trees and do a lot of damage. And then we could also see some flooding, because this is going to be a long-term event. We're going to see more of these storms over and over, and that is where we're going to get a lot of this rainfall from that could trigger that flooding. Severe thunderstorm watch. Almost every county in the mid-state is included in this, and this is until 8 o'clock. Include you up here in southern Kentucky as well. As a matter of fact, with these storms, we're already seeing some power outages in Stewart, Montgomery, Robertson, Dixon, and Cheatham counties from this line of storms. So these are severe storms that are moving through. Here's a look at the other issue. That's going to be our flood watch. That is from 4 until tomorrow morning at 4. So we are looking at so much rainfall that could trigger that flooding. And our estimates are some 3, 4, 5 inches of rain that we could see. And speaking of heavy downpours, and where are we looking at? Did you say Arkansas? Clarksville. All right, so Clarksville definitely getting some heavier rain. One of the first here in the mid-state to see that rain pick up, those storms move through, and you can see how high the winds are. They're just blowing that rain around. It's like sheets of rain blowing across the area right now, and trees are swaying there. So we have got our crews out in the field who are helping us to cover this storm, to give you the latest on what's going on. And, you know, power outages are definitely happening right now in Montgomery County, and we can see why with the winds, and while that is having a number there on the traffic too. It's rush hour, and you've got all that rainfall coming down and those winds blowing sideways. This is a look at the power outages that we have had so far on Cruise. I hope it didn't steal your thunder there, but it just popped up there as to what was going on. But you can see some of the power outages. You want to tell us a little bit more about what we're seeing?
Yeah, so those numbers are pretty high in those northwestern communities, Lisa, that we had these storms impact first. We've been telling you about the potential for 70+ mile per hour winds. I mean, that is nothing to take lightly. So that is what has caused these power outages. But we, of course, still have those storms that haven't affected some communities yet. So with those still moving through, let's get back to the latest on what is going on with these warnings. We've got lots of lightning, heavy wind, rain. I just had, a friend texting me saying, hey, should I be worried with these storms moving through? And I would say while that storm is on top of you, yes, be inside, be in a safe place. You don't have to be in your tornado safe place, but 70 mile per hour winds are definitely strong. So let's track these out for you, Lisa. We'll loop this over the past 30 minutes and see, where these storms are headed, how many warnings we have, and it looks like, this line up and down the line is still warned at this time. So here we have another camera looking very dark there. Looks like we have maybe some wet roads, the lightning, you can obviously see that there. It's very active out there. And with these storms, they have been very, very electric. I mean, we're talking crazy amounts of lightning. Just in the frame that I'm looking at, the wide view on First Alert Live radar, there's over 1,000 lightning strikes on the radar right now. So these storms are electric, they're very strong, and nothing to play around with as they continue to move through. Lisa?
Absolutely. And Chris, I want to show you this one piece of video, actually a live camera view, that was over in Bellevue. We'll get that queued up for you here in a second. Pretty amazing, that storm that was moving in here. And here is I-40 and Highway 70. I think it may have been on this shot. Is that right, Alex? It was on this shot and the camera moved a little bit. Okay, the camera tilted down, but wow, just a few moments ago, the clouds pushing in. I mean, it was so evident you had a storm bearing down on you. We'll keep watching that. If we see that pop up again, we'll show you that. Here's what we've got right now with this line of storms. And I think we should just dive way down here and let folks see some of these neighborhoods that are affected. Get a little closer in. Might want to even take off some of that lightning so we can see some of that heavy rain that is moving through. And you can see it all pushing towards you in Linden, down towards Centerville, and up to Dixon. We've got the heavier downpours there, and even a little bit closer, zooming in to folks down here into Williamson County. There you are in Dixon, I should say, over to Burns. This is Fairview up to Linton. This is going to be coming right on into you in Franklin before too much longer. We think within the next half hour or so, we actually can do a storm track for you and show you what the estimated arrival time for some of these communities will be here in Williamson County, as the storm is moving pretty quickly onto the east-southeast right now, about 45, 50 miles an hour as it jogs on towards the southeast. So we're just going to get a broad view here of it moving that rate of speed, continuing across Williamson County, picking up folks down in Murray County as well as it moves on towards the east-southeast. That estimated arrival time is going to be Hillsborough High School. It's on you right now. Over to Forest Hills around 346, continuing to Father Ryan High School at 348. If you're over around Radnor Lake, around 349 is the estimated arrival time. What you're watching out for over at Brentwood Academy is going to be some heavy downpours around 350 with this storm pushing on by. Chapel Hill, your estimated arrival time, I should say Berry's Chapel, is going to be right around 350. So that's the estimated arrival time with this line of storms. Heavy downpours, a lot of lightning, very strong winds. So right now that storm is moving into Nashville. Look at that right there along the interstate. We can see it coming down 40 and then continuing to press on towards the east, stretching up to Inglewood, all the way down to West Meade as well. If you're in Green Hills, that storm is going to be coming to you very, very soon. We're going to get what we can see here with a timeline pushing this forward to about, let's say the next hour or so, half hour. Here's what you can expect with the storm coming by. All right, we're looking at that camera view. That's right now with the storm moving in to the Nashville area. So I'm going to pop back out just so those folks at home can see these cities and see these times where we're expecting these storms to move in. This is in Davidson County. So Alex, if we can pull back out so folks at home can see that line as it's moving on by. It's headed over to around, let's see if we can, Father Ryan High School around 348. I think I can make that out to Donaldson right around 349. There we go. And then continuing to Glencliff High School, that estimated arrival time is going to be around 350, continuing to Radnor at 350 as well. So some of the same locations popping up in this frame as well. There is folks over at McGavick High School. That was the one I was having a tough time seeing with the first three letters, where that's going to be until 347. So that's our estimated arrival time for that as well. Rain really coming down. I mean, we're here in West Nashville, and we can hear it beating down on our roof right now. We can certainly tell that the winds are very high with this storm advancing on towards the east. And let's see, that camera shot, is that one still over in that same location? This is over I-40 at 840. So you can tell where that is right now, I-40 at 840, showing you just how heavy the rain is. This is what we're saying. Unless you have to go out, let's just wait until this passes on by Davidson County. At least let the leading edge of this line get by you. Now we take you over to the F&M Bank camera. That's in Clarksville. We saw that other shot of Clarksville just a little while ago with that, just the sheets of rain going across. This view is showing us another perspective along the river, and definitely a cloudy, rainy, stormy day for you there. Few showers, as we can see over here to the east, headed towards you in Jamestown. Nothing severe for you just yet. It's going to be folks that are off to the west where things are getting really, really active as they move into Davidson County right now. So just heads up, if you're over here in the eastern part of the county, that storm is going to be headed your way. Hey, let's dive way down there and let's see where this is in relationship over to the airport, because I know this has such an impact on our commuting traffic out here when it comes not only to the roads, but also out towards the airport. And you can see there's Donaldson right there. So the airport right in this general area, it is almost there, which if you've got a loved one coming in, maybe delayed a little bit till this storm pushes through, maybe delayed getting in and certainly getting out at the airport. You might want to check ahead to see if those flights are delayed any at all because of the weather that is coming through right now. Would not be surprised. We're talking about winds that are around 45 miles per hour right now and gusting also up to around 55 miles per hour, as you can see, around 53 miles an hour. So it's very, very windy with this storm coming across. There's a great shot of what we're seeing. Is this our camera on our tower out here that we're moving around? Okay, this is the camera near the airport. So Hotel Preston, I am thinking that's where we're seeing some of those sheets of rain that are getting closer and closer to the airport right now. So that's why we say you might want to check ahead just to see if you've got any flights, any loved ones coming in that may be certainly delayed on departures or arrivals as this is moving towards the east. You can see how this warning has even been expanded to conclude us over here in Wilson County, Lebanon, Mount Juliet included in that warning now. And then, of course, farther down to the south, that's in effect there until 4:15. Let's see, let me double check that. Yep, until 4:15. And then we've got a little farther off to the north, also included in that warning, of course, is Sumner County and up into southern Kentucky, included in here as well with this line of storms. This is Bellevue that we're looking at in our window over here. I mean, it is tough going out there with all that. The traffic's moving along at a pretty good clip, but definitely the weather is not cooperating with it. It's coming down so heavily right now and those winds blowing as well. We'll head it over to Cruz.
Yeah, well, Lisa, I can hear it coming down here at the WSMV 4 studios as well. Sheets of rain just hitting our building. You can hear the winds. It's very noisy outside with all of that lightning as well. And these storms, you know, we've been saying it for a while now. They're not here to play. These are, you know, mean storms. They're very strong storms. These warnings are for 70-mile-per-hour winds. Normally, when a severe thunderstorm warning is issued, so kind of the baseline is for 60 miles per hour. So this is kind of overachieving, if you will, as far as that wind potential. And winds of this strength can certainly do a lot of damage. So trees can come down, power lines can come down. It can obviously impact your driving conditions as well. So let's kind of reset here. Just want to give you the wide view. So I'll lapse this over the past 30 minutes. You can see all of these warnings. I mean, these extend almost all the way from Jackson, Tennessee, stretching up into portions of Kentucky as well. So right around the Franklin, Kentucky area, we've got those warnings. You can see here on the camera, we're showing you that shot of Music City Center downtown. It's very rainy out there. Obviously, those storms are continuing to move through. It's going to be very gusty as these storms come through as well. So lots going on here in the mid-state. Let's kind of take this area by area and see who is at risk with these storms coming through. So I'm going to switch to a different radar source here just to give us a better picture. It looks like the rain was blocking some of our view there on the other radar. So we'll start up here. Let's see. We've got portions of eastern Logan County into Simpson and Allen County, Kentucky is included in a warning. I will loop this for you. You can see these particular storms are moving off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. So the northern tier of the storm moving due east. The southern tier of the storm is the one kind of dropping off to the south and east a bit. I'll point out in this camera, this is exactly what we've been seeing. Look at all of that shaking with the camera there. I'm not sure where that is. I-40 at 840. Obviously very dangerous driving conditions out there. So you're going to have ponding on the roads. You're going to have those gusty winds that could blow your car around a little bit. Just lots to be mindful of if you have to be out on the roads right now. Let's move a little farther to the south. This particular warning includes several counties: Wilson, Sumner, Davidson, down through Williamson counties. This particular warning is going all the way until 4:15. So we've got at least another 20 or so minutes with this warning. Lots of lightning. So just in the frame that I'm showing you here, we've got almost 600 lightning strikes. Think about, you know, Davidson County and surrounding areas. It's very, very populated. I would not be surprised, you know, with some of this cloud to ground lightning to see some power outages showing up on the board. So we were talking about that a little bit earlier. We've got about 2,600 power outages being reported right now. And you can see these pictures that we're showing you. This is obviously impacting even an area like downtown Nashville. So nobody is really clear from the threats that these storms are posing. We'll lapse this one more time. Let's see, right around Davidson County, Wilson, Sumner counties. Portland, this is right over you. It's moving into Gallatin. Hendersonville, this is right on your doorstep. If it's not raining right now, you're going to see a sheet of rain here within the next 5 minutes. This will continue to track off to the east to include areas like Lebanon, down the road, Smyrna, Brentwood. This is right on your doorstep as well. And it's basically over the heart of Nashville right now. So very busy time for these storms to be coming through. This is going to impact your evening travel and lots of other things as well. And it's not just there in Nashville. This is pretty much impacting all of the mid-state right now. So it's going to be a soggy evening, and we have more rounds of rain and storms that are going to come through overnight. Lisa?
Absolutely. That's why we're continuing our first alert weather day all the way through tomorrow with these multiple rounds of storms. And we're not only looking at high winds, we're going to see some flooding downpours, and we emphasize that flooding potential with these storms. We're going to take a look at some of the rainfall estimates we've had so far coming up in just a few moments. But damaging wind is also going to be another big issue. Our severe threat elevated today to that 3 on that 1 to 5 scale for the potential of severe storms just to continue as well. Now, Cruz, if we can pop on those estimated rainfall totals right now, just to let folks know how much we've had so far in some of these locations, because we know we're going to be getting even more, because this is only the first round of storms to come through, and we're looking at one after another to make its way across. So we've already had quite a bit in some of these locations, nearing an inch already. So if we're already seeing that in the short period of time it's been raining here in some of these locations, then we're going to see much more before it's over with. This is up around Henry County, 1 1/3 inches coming down in that location. Now, keep that in mind what we have right now. Keep in mind that we've got more of this to continue to come. Now, when we look, we've got a flood watch that is in effect, really starts in just a few minutes, continues all the way through morning time, because we're expecting some 3, 4, 5 inches of rain. And this is going to be enough to trigger some flooding issues in these locations. So that's why it's just very important that you stay weather aware, not only for the potential of severe storms, but because we could see that flooding. But definitely looking at that possibility of severe storms. The watch is up all the way till 8 o'clock tonight. It has also been updated. So if you were watching us just a few moments ago, the counties all the way down to the south were not included in that watch. Now they are. So folks that are in Lincoln County, Monroe County, now in that, Franklin County. So that has been added to our watch area, and it's been extended over to parts of East Tennessee as well if you've got travel plans to be headed out that way. But this is that line of storms right now, goes all the way back up here into Murray County. And I think it'd be great to show, Cruz, just pull out and let's show that bigger view on our composite radar. We can show folks how far this actually goes out, because it's not just right here. It extends farther out, and we've got more waves that will be coming through. So see what I mean? Yeah, we've got much more up here in parts of Missouri and back behind that. So we've got multiple rounds of rain that will cause some issues, not only with the potential for severe, but also with the potential for heavy rain. I mean, look at our camera. My goodness, you can hardly even see downtown. There's so much rain already coming downtown as this storm is moving right through the downtown area. Let's see, we're continuing that severe thunderstorm warning from the National Weather Service for Cheatham, Dixon, Hickman, Lewis, Murray, Perry, and Williamson counties. Humphreys counties has been canceled out of the warning, so good news for you. A couple of other counties, I just want to say it because you may have not noticed them popping up on your screen. Giles, Lawrence, Lewis, Murray, Wayne are all under severe thunderstorm warning until 5 o'clock. So until 5 o'clock for you. And a couple of others up in Kentucky. Well, we don't want to forget you. We know you're up there watching. Allen, Barron County, or excuse me, Butler, I should say, Simpson and Warren until 4:15. So you're still in a warned area as well. If you're in Logan County, the warning has been canceled for you. So just some of those locations where things are improving. But know that this line is affecting so many people as it's just going up and down from one part of the Tennessee-Kentucky line all the way down to the other part of the mid-state. So I think it'd be a good idea to do a storm track here and give you an idea of where these storms are headed. And I'll step over here so maybe crews can push that window over to the other side so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so this is going to be over to Centennial High School at 3:59, Mount Juliet High School around 3:59, Raintree Forest, that is over in Brentwood. That is a big neighborhood in Brentwood. It should be over there around 3:59, Breckentown around 3:59, LaGuardo at 3:59, Ezo Harding at about 4 o'clock, and then Ravenwood High School, Brentwood High School there, Brentwood High School, I should say, is going to be around 4 o'clock for you, and Owl Creek, that community is about that same time as well. And then we continue on down that line. You can see more of these storms stretching a little farther to the south. Good news here, it looks like we're getting more just rain on the tail end of this and less of the really stormy conditions that we've had. That's definitely some great news. This storm is moving off towards the east. Here's another update for you. We're looking at it headed to, let's see, Avalon at 4 o'clock, McKay's Mill, another kind of Franklin neighborhood there at 4 o'clock, and Cane Ridge High School over in Antioch around 4:02 is your estimated arrival time, and our clock here is at 3:58 right now with the storms moving towards the southeast. A couple little updates for you. We do have some reports of trees down and power outages over near the Maryland Farms area, near Maryland Farms. So that's right over there at Brentwood, kind of right there at Brentwood proper, in that general area. It looks like we've got some power outages over there. Just a lot of is going on with this trees coming down. Let's see, over Davidson Road in Belle Meade, that's not too far from here, we've got reports of some trees down, and that is on some power lines too. So we will certainly have our crews in the back see if they can get more information on some of these issues that we're seeing out there right now with these trees down, causing some problems. And you know, that's going to be a big problem while we're going to have power outages. It's because we're going to have these trees falling on power lines this afternoon. And trees, roof damage, things being strewn about, that's going to be some of the biggest concerns we're going to see with these storms as they continue to move on through. And definitely looking at that rainfall, goodness, as it continues to come on down. What we're seeing right now is our storm threats. Wow, we've got a big boomer overhead right now. These are our storm threats. We're talking about the potential for half-inch size hail with these storms. So that's not the greatest threat that we've got, but it's there. That's that possibility. Now what we're clicking on is to show you some of the rainfall rates. So if the storm was to sit there for an hour, we'd see 2 inches of rain out of that storm. And back over here, around a half-inch an hour around the Waverly area. So with that in mind, that's one of the reasons, because we know we're going to get more rain over and over some of the same locations. That's one of the reasons that we have got flooding. It's one of our biggest concerns coming up for the night tonight. You know, as I look at this too, Cruz, as we're kind of analyzing this together, I mean, it is showing an improvement in terms of we're not seeing it quite as organized looking, and just it doesn't look quite as potent as it did a little while ago, but certainly it's still a very strong storm.
Yes, it is. So I would say that southern tier, and you were just pointing this out as well, this southern tier back here in the southern part of the mid-state, so definitely to the southwest of Nashville, that's where we're starting to see the most weakening of this storm. Still, those areas are under a severe thunderstorm warning, so we'll see if the National Weather Service decides to let that drop off early. Regardless, I want you inside right now. I mean, it is electric outdoors. We have so many lightning strikes showing up on the radar. So I just want to show you, in this whole frame that you're seeing here, there's nearly 1,000 lightning strikes showing up. Keep in mind, some of this is possibly making it down to the ground, so what we call cloud-to-ground lightning. That can be very dangerous. That puts you at risk of getting struck, just like tall objects, metal objects. Those are all things that are at risk for being struck with these caliber storms of this caliber, I should say, moving through right now. So as we look at these latest scans, the strongest parts of the storms continue to remain in Hickman, into Williamson, Davidson, Wilson, and Sumner counties at this time. So it's really this northern tier that I'm concerned with. Back toward Linden, you are included in a severe thunderstorm warning right now. I would say the winds in those areas are not going to be as strong as in an area like eastern Davidson County, for example. And then, as Lisa had pointed out earlier, we are talking multiple rounds of rain here, so I actually want to give you a different view. I'm going to switch our radar source to give you more of a regional look here. look at how far back these storms stretch. So we're dealing with one complex right now. Looks like a big blob when you look at it on this particular radar view, but look, just back to our north and west, there's already more rounds of those storms getting going. And as they track off to the south and east, that could spell trouble right here in the mid-state. So that's going to present at least a threat of flash flooding in the overnight hours. We could see several inches of rain. We're talking a widespread 2 to 5 inches falling within a 24-hour time span. That certainly sets us up for at least the potential to see some flooding here in the mid-state. So throughout the rest of this evening, throughout the overnight hours, I need you to have ways to receive warnings for floods, for severe thunderstorm warnings, any type of warning that you could possibly get from the National Weather Service. I need you to have multiple ways to receive those, as this is going to be an overnight threat as well. The good news, overnight, the severe threat will start to go down, but flooding can be just as dangerous in many areas when it is occurring. So getting back to more of a local view here, I'd say it's pretty quiet out in the Cumberland Plateau right now. Eventually, this cluster of storms is going to move in that direction. Eventually, the additional clusters of storms could move in that direction as well. But right now, our focus is on where we have active warnings, and this is right through the heart of our coverage area. Nashville, Hendersonville, Franklin, these are all areas that are being impacted by these storms as we speak. And I actually want to stop the radar loop right now just to let you know where exactly these storms are at and pretty much where they're headed. So the forward speed on these storms is pretty significant. They're moving at about 50 miles per hour off to the east. Think about how fast you drive on the way home from work. So if you're not on the interstate, you probably go 50 miles per hour on some of those secondary roads. These storms are basically moving at the speed that you drive. So you combine that forward speed with the strong winds already in the storm, and that is what's bringing us that potential for wind damage as these storms move through. So I want to give you the latest storm track here. We'll take this all the way from just to the east of Franklin, Kentucky. Draw a good line here. So this extends through several counties, but I just want to give folks the latest on when they can expect, this in your particular neighborhood. So off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. Let's see, we've got Independence High School at 407, Providence right around 407 as well, Thompson Station 408, Sunset Elementary 408, Castalian Springs 409, Laverne at the same time 409, and then Nolensville at 410. So still very populated areas where this is going to move through. I definitely want you inside as these storms barrel through your area. So we're watching for cloud to ground lightning. We've been hearing a lot of thunder here at WSMV, and just from what the radar is showing as well, I can tell you there's a lot of lightning out there with these storms. The other threat we're watching for, winds potentially up to 70 miles per hour and ponding on roadways. So you can see that in the camera that we're showing you there. The road's looking very wet as some of the storms have moved through. There's going to be some ponding on the roads just given how hard this rain is coming down in such a short amount of time. So that is enough to make you hydroplane. You certainly don't want that to even be a possibility. So slow it down on your drive home from work throughout the rest of this afternoon and into the evening. So we're going to continue, with this coverage here. These storms, they're far from over. The good news is I am seeing them die down just a little bit. I'm going to switch to a different radar view here just to, let you know what's going on, what are the newest updates with this particular storm system. So it's a cluster of storms. This stretches through most of the mid-state. So I'd say from around Allen County, Kentucky, all the way back here into some of our southernmost counties. So approaching Hardin County, approaching areas like Lawrence and Giles counties as well. These are all areas included in severe thunderstorm warnings. And then you can see as we go farther to the north, there's still lots of lightning with these storms as well. And I'd say just switching that radar view really does change, how these storms look out there. So there may not be quite as strong in some of those northern areas at this point, but we're still seeing them hold up pretty well in an area like Nashville. Lisa?
And you know, Cruz, I'm just looking at that radar and thinking, wow, that is quite the expanse of rain that is back behind that. So that's one of the reasons that one of our key threats for us for this evening is going to be from flooding, not only for this evening, but also through tomorrow morning as well, followed by high wind. And of course, our threat zone was elevated today to this orange that you see here across much of the mid-state. That's 3 on a 1 to 5 scale. We're not as concerned with tornadoes or hail with this event. However, already in Bellevue, we have had some nickel-sized hail reported. And with that in mind, if the storm has passed you by and you have some hail out there, we would love to see pictures of that. You can send that to us. You can certainly email it to us. We'll take it anyway. You can put it up on our app. Just real quick and easy to do it there. We'd love to see your pictures. We do have one photograph already sent in. This is over in Springfield. Cody captured this cloud as it was moving through. So this is the leading edge of that storm as it was coming in to the Springfield area. So with that gorgeous shot in mind, we love to see your pictures as well. But we always say, please do not put yourself in harm's way to get a picture. But we would love to share those on the air with other viewers so they can see what's happening in other locations. Well, we are looking at this line, definitely pushing on down to the south, east, and showing us that we have got quite a lightning show here as it continues to push southeastward. And this is what I was talking about, that expansive rain continuing all the way back into Kentucky tonight. So a lot of rain that has to come through before we're all done with this first round for tonight. Let's take a closer look at some of these locations and kind of survey around what's going on. And we can see right through here, we've got around Portland up to Franklin, some of those heavier downpours stretching down to Gallatin and also down to Hendersonville as well, with, of course, severe thunderstorm warnings out ahead of all of these. And, you know, just as we were saying a second ago, we're always in constant contact with the National Weather Service, and they're seeing exactly what we're seeing, that the overall winds with this line of storms appear to be weakening than they were earlier. We're talking 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts are still possible, but definitely not as potent as it was a little while ago. So this is all moving towards you if you're in Lebanon right now. We know you've already gotten it in Hendersonville, over in Mount Juliet. You're in the thick of it as well, or at least it's not walking into your neck of the woods, but we are going to see more of that coming to you in Lebanon. If you're in Smyrna, we can tell you we've already heard it on our roof. Very heavy downpours. You can see it in the picture that we've got there on the side of the screen. There's some high wind shaking those cameras around. So that's another thing you're going to see as this comes through Laverne and also into Smyrna. In Brentwood, we've already reported some of the trees down over around Maryland Farms in association with this whole system. And then we get down farther to the south, and this is where it doesn't seem quite as organized as it did a little while ago, quite as strong, but you've still got some heavy rain that's going to be coming your way, and a lot of lightning there in Columbia stretching through Bury County, and Spring Hill, I should say, are also going to see some more of that as well. And then stretching down to Hohenwald, all the way back to the tail end of this, from Lexington, you can see this is going to move to the southeast too. So if you're in Waynesboro, if you're in Lawrenceburg, you're going to get some of this very, very shortly as it is moving toward the southeast. I know for many of you, you're like, yes, we need some rain. We'd like to see some of this rain come into our area. We just don't want to get it all in one 24-hour period, right, to cause any flooding issues. So we're hoping that is not going to be the case with these storms starting to make their way across and moving on by. But one of the greatest concerns we do have is going to be from that possibility of straight line winds along with the flooding that I just mentioned. Let's get up really close and tight in here on Nashville so we can show folks. I know you're hearing a lot of this thunder still with us. We are under a severe thunderstorm warning right now, which basically what we want you to know is you need to stay in until this storm passes you by. The winds are really howling out there. We know that. You may be one of those cases where you've got leaves blowing all over the places, maybe even some trees or some tree branches down, because we've already had reports of that. But winds are now 30, 40 miles per hour on our estimates here, whereas a little while ago they were more like 45 and 50 miles per hour. So that is a good sign, but still there's heavy rain out here too. And, you know, when you've got a 30, 40 mile per hour wind, that can still bring down some branches and definitely blow things around the lawn as well. Moving on up here, we can also see that we do have that possibility of hail. We think any hail that falls today, for the most part, is going to be on the smaller size. We're not talking about that huge hail that we oftentimes see, or we sometimes see, but definitely could see some of the smaller hail with these storms today. Around 1 inch in diameter, that is the threshold for a severe thunderstorm warning to be issued. But then again, we've had winds today that are certainly high enough to issue these severe thunderstorm warnings, and that's exactly what we've seen. And just reiterating, we're really not expecting any issues with tornadoes with these storms as they move on by. Mount Juliet, you are getting some of that heavier rain I was talking about, and the gusty winds headed over to Lebanon before too much longer. Now, we do have a new update. A severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for reiterating Bedford, Davidson, Lewis, Marshall, Murray, Rutherford until 5 o'clock tonight. So just recapping that warning that has been issued for those locations. So make sure that you're staying weather aware, staying inside till this whole storm passes you by right now. And I know we're going to get to the back side of this, and the rain's not going to stop. It's still going to continue to rain, but at least those stronger winds will be dying down as this whole storm system moves towards the east. This is our regional view, and what this is going to show us is this is just not one and done. This is the round that's this is coming through right now. This is just rain. It shows up a little differently when we put the composite radar together. And then we've got this next round that will come through. This one has actually prompted a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings back here in Arkansas. So, you know, we'll have to watch that very closely too as it drops towards the southeast. There we got a little different colorization on it, which shows you more just rain on the back side of this whole system as it marches towards the southeast. A lot of warnings though out there. It seems like many of our counties have already been under a warning, and now we're even seeing more of them as this whole thing continues to track towards the east and southeast right now. Cruz?
Yes, well, this evening remains very impactful, Lisa. We obviously have the rain and storms right now. Think about what time it is. So on my watch, it's showing 4:14 p.m. Folks are either getting off right now or they're about to get off. You've got lots of things going on this evening. Some of those were supposed to be outdoors. Looks like that's not going to happen as this heavy rain continues to move through. So severe thunderstorm warnings stretch all the way from southwest portions of Middle Tennessee. So we just had that southernmost warning issued for the northern part of Hardin County. That's stretching all the way into portions of Kentucky. So right around Allen County in Kentucky. That is quite the line there. It expands several miles, several hundreds of miles, I should say. And as this continues to move through, we're going to have to continue to watch for that potential for the damaging wind. So I would say the strongest winds right now, I'm going to declutter the radar here a bit, take off some of this lightning. The strongest winds are probably going to be right off to the east of Nashville, so entering portions of Wilson County, I should say, down into Rutherford County as well. And then right where this bow kind of ends, so around Hohenwald and Columbia, those are other areas to watch for the potential for some of those damaging winds. So we're going to go area by area here, just kind of reset on what to expect over the next few hours. So I'm going to stop this lapse. We're going to throw up a storm track here, starting with some of our Kentucky counties, extending all the way down off to the east of Nashville, and then we'll move a little farther to the south as well. So this particular line of storms moving off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. If the storms are not already over you in areas like Portland, Gallatin, Hendersonville, they're headed in your direction very quickly. So Hunters Point, 417, that's basically, you know, only 2 to 5 minutes away. Lebanon, this is about to be in your area around the same time, 417. 419 for the Wilson County Fairgrounds, Oak Forest, 421. We've got Hartsville at 422 and Bethel at 424. So just giving you a heads up in those areas. You want to be inside. You definitely don't want to be, you know, near windows with winds this strong. That's capable of throwing objects around that could possibly, you know, bust through your windows. You don't want to be right near a window. You certainly want to be in your safe place, maybe not your tornado safe place, but just be prepared for winds of this caliber, potentially up to 60 or 70 miles per hour. Looking a little farther south, the storms, as you drop to the south of Nashville, they kind of have a southern component. So they're not moving off just to the east. They're kind of moving more in a southeast fashion. So let's get a storm track for these areas as well. The severe thunderstorms in those areas go right until 5 p.m. So we've still got, a good 40 to 45 minutes before these storms expire, unless the National Weather Service allows them to expire a little earlier. So these particular areas, let's see, Laverne High School, right around 4:19 is when you can expect these storms. Stewart's Creek High School, 4:21, Rock Springs, 4:21, and Smyrna High School, right there at 4:23. So we're giving you that heads up, that first alert. That way you can prepare and already be inside before these storms come through. Now, if you do have to drive, let's talk a little bit about that. So with an evening commute, we know in an area like Nashville, the traffic is already horrendous, even if the weather is nice outside. So you throw in weather and, things just get a little crazy out there. Slow it down. With this heavy rain coming through, that's enough to cause ponding on roads. You certainly don't want to be the person that runs into, a big wall of water and ends up hydroplaning. The best thing to do is drive a little slower for your commute. Be patient. Realize that, others might have a hard time seeing as rain is coming down kind of in sheets. Definitely be vigilant. You don't want to be the person, with your blinkers on or something. Just drive a little slower. Give yourself some extra time to get to your destination, and never wait under an overpass. That applies for now. That applies if there was a tornado. That is just something you never do. That puts others at harm as well. So an active evening here. We'll do a wide view kind of reset here, what is going on in the grand scheme of things. We've got a cluster of storms that stretches. Let's see, our southern Kentucky counties were just dropped from that. So we've got some areas like Sumner County in Tennessee stretching all the way back to Hardin County. That is quite the line there. We know that this has had a history of producing wind damage. Some of those damage reports, especially back toward Clarksville and Hopkinsville, that were reports of around 70-mile-per-hour winds. Certainly enough to do, lots of damage. We're not even talking about baseline. This is big-time damage. So I guess after the storms clear, we will be able to give you more updates on, how much damage was actually caused. But with these storms coming through, we're going to see rounds and rounds, and that presents a flooding threat tonight as well. Lisa?
All right, we're obviously seeing numerous reports of trees down all across the mid-state. Davidson County, Williamson County, namely two of those. So just please be extra careful out there. All right, how many was that again? Wow, more than 7,000 NES customers are without power. So this is definitely a dangerous storm system tonight with these extremely high winds. And we're showing that smaller box there. You can see those are some of the power outages we were just referring to. A severe thunderstorm watch is definitely going to remain in effect until 8 o'clock for us tonight. So this is really everybody here in Middle Tennessee, and many of you in southern Kentucky from Hopkinsville eastward. We're not quite done with this storm system yet as it continues to move on toward the east. Here is a look at that line of storms, all this lightning up and down this line, and more rain on the back side of this. Let's see if we can get a few storm tracks for you and kind of update you if you're just coming into us. I know a lot of folks are going out to pick up the kids, getting home maybe from practice, whether it be dance practice or summer camp. So just keep in mind that we're looking at some really nasty storms as all this is moving towards the east right now. So if you're over here in Lafayette and some of these points eastward around Lebanon, just keep in mind that storm system is going to be coming to you really quickly. Here's some of the estimated arrival times. Lebanon right around 4:22, Eagleville at 4:23, over to the high school there in Eagleville at 4:23. Wilson County Fairgrounds, 4:24 is the estimated arrival time. Blackman High School down towards Murfreesboro at 4:25. Hartsville at 4:26, and also in Murfreesboro, Stiegel High School at 4:27, and then the Bethel community right around 4:27. What you're looking for here is going to be extremely high wind, heavy downpours that's going to be coming to those areas that could cause ponding over the roads. So, boy, just be careful. When you see that ponding on the roads, that's water standing over that road, it can definitely cause you to hydroplane. And in some instances, it is so thick that it can really push you off the road. So please be vigilant if you have to get out to drive. If you don't, we suggest that you wait till these storms pass by. Now, this part that the cruise is just tracking is the southern part of that that's moving more southeastward. And that's going to be headed over to Richland High School at 4:23, over to Geneva around 4:26, Leoma at 4:27, continuing to West Side at 4:27, Marshall County High School right around 4:28, and Lewisburg at 4:30. So